legacy media is furious at CBS Evening News and Barry Weiss, who is playing very nice with the American people. So why would the access media be so unhappy? Well, because it turns out they're now covering the real news on CBS, and that means ABC and NBC might just have to as well. Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is the happiest YouTube channel that ever set sail across the digital seven seas. Welcome one and all, where we heed the call for explaining entertainment. Folks, click that like button if you would be so kind. Drop a comment down below, and if you see the hype button, well, the time is always ripe to hit the hype. Let's dive into why CBS Evening News is such a big blow to the legacy media networks who always thought they would hold an absolute monolith, gatekeeping away the mainstream, the sensible center, and doing whatever they wanted to with your news. All right, here we have it, folks, from John Crimians. He says, just watch CBS Evening News. Honestly, not bad for the first night. As someone that was on national television for over 30 years, I knew there would be glitches. There always is. Advice, Tony, never, no matter how stressful it can be, demean and talk negatively to your crew. All right, here is, well, we'll click this and see if we can get full screen.
All right,
here's how it went, and we're not interested in the glitch necessarily. We're going to talk about what it was revealed by the glitch. Get ready for that. Here is the first night of CBS Evening News under Barry Weiss.
All right, to other news, as you just heard from Jill. Well, to other news now, to Governor Walz. No, we're going to do Mark Kelly. First day, big problems here. Are we going to Kelly here, or are we going to go to Jonah Kaplan? We're doing Mark Kelly, possibly demoted from his retired rank of captain in the Navy. All right, to other news.
Guys, it's a glitch, but it's a glitch that reveals something to us. Unlike ABC and unlike NBC News, the two lead stories for CBS. One, Tim Walz stepping out of the race for the governorship of Minnesota after the Somali scandal of the century. And the other story, Senator Mark Kelly being stripped of some of his retirement benefits and other things because of him telling military members not to follow orders, allegedly. Those are two stories that would not typically be covered on the network news. And those are two stories that, if they were, might be covered in 5 seconds, might be dismissively handled. They're definitely not the headlines. The glitch revealed that's what we can look forward to. And that's why places like Deadline, we'll talk about the Hollywood trades now. Deadline, Ted Johnson says, Tony's official CBS Evening News debut features brisk headlines, a momentary glitch, and a new sign-off with plenty of scrutiny to come. Why is there scrutiny to come? Because they couldn't find anything to get this guy on. That's how well done CBS Evening News was. That's how buttoned up all of this is. Same thing at Variety. Tony DeCoppel's CBS Evening News debut is an inauspicious sign of where CBS News is headed, by Daniel D. Adario. I'll read this one a little bit. It says, his debut as the anchor of CBS Evening News came wildly heralded. The broadcast journalist, who since 2019 has been CBS's morning show co-anchor, came into the seat once held by Walter Cronkite, Dan Rather, and Katie Couric with plenty of attitude, saying in a recent social media comment that he would be more accountable and more transparent than had been legendary anchor Cronkite. And on New Year's Day, sharing a video in which he declared his broadcast had often missed the story by privileging the perspective of advocates and not the average American. Now, this article goes on to talk about how much they don't like Barry Weiss and David Ellison. They're centrist. They like the orange man. But it doesn't have anything negative to say because they did such a darn good job. But I guarantee you that over time, they're going to hate the stuff they cover because it's going to force ABC and NBC to uncover some of those same things as well. Marvin is a man in the news industry. What do you make of this idea that suddenly they've shuffled the deck? And you know how we only have a certain amount of bandwidth? You have to pick, you have to do a rank order of what matters in the world. It turns out that Tim Walz and Mark Kelly and the misfortunes facing both of them were the headliners for the first night. And yet the Hollywood trades, who, by the way, are weighing in because they cover entertainment and the entertainment companies own the news organizations, they're struggling to find anything to criticize here because they didn't get the opening they were hoping for.
I think they were also hoping that it was going to be like a crazy Newsmax or, conspiracy theory show, or they were going to go off the rails with praising Trump, or just anything that they could point to that doesn't say middle of the road. But no, it was a perfectly middle of the road, news broadcast, which is exactly what they need to be. It was removed from the situation, not presenting opinions, just giving you the facts. Just the facts, ma'am. Like, that's what it was. And I'm very pleased with what I saw. I have been saying that CBS News could be the hope of news organizations throughout the world, as like you could finally have a centrist, news outlet that will actually tell you the truth and tell you what's happening in the world.
It's a very strange thing seeing how these things are run. Ron, we'll get to that in just a minute, but give us your thoughts on the impact that's going to be by CBS. So different than ABC and NBC now. It's going to feel like two different worlds, going between those channels. What do you think that's going to do to Disney and to Comcast with their news offerings?
Well, if people clamor on, like, it's an interesting question because we live in a day and age where so many people live in the echo chamber of their own belief systems, that putting somebody on the air, putting a news organization on the air, putting news stories on the air where they're just covered, like, this is what happened. It's actually going to be very refreshing, I think, to a lot of people because, whether you're in the echo chamber of the right or you're in the echo chamber of the left, you're going to come into this, you're going to watch this and go, oh, wait a second, that seems different. Maybe it broadens my scope as a viewer. Maybe it gives me the opportunity to actually learn and grow as a person. Maybe it gives me the opportunity to just get the facts. And it could be very damaging to the other companies, Disney, Comcast, ABC, NBC, or it could, if it becomes popular, if it becomes very, a well-watched show, then it's going to create some movement at the other companies. They're going to have to take a look at this. They're going to have to take a very serious look at it and say, maybe we need to adjust what we do.
I'm leaving this picture up on the screen right now because I want people to see something. You're often told that the new media, the YouTubers, the TikTokers, the Instagrammers, and some of those people are very silly people, to be honest. But some of them are very serious. We try to be serious here in between the jokes we make. And you'll hear a lot of hate from the legacy media saying, they're in their basements, they're in their attics, they're, incels. Folks, I'm keeping this picture up because I want you to see it's all the same. Did you know that the news now is basically inside a giant warehouse, cinder blocks and exposed wires and all that kind of stuff? And the confusion, the trickery that they do is they put them inside a giant, huge green blanket that surrounds them up and down all the way around. Did you know this is what it looks like to the people who are working on the news these days? Isn't that strange? So don't listen to them when they say, oh, these people, they're out of their basements and attics. They're in their garages. They're sitting in warehouses too. It looks very strange to them as well. It's so inauthentic. But I just say that because it's such an interesting thing to see. Lauren, it's going to get more authentic now on the network news, I believe. And as we've said before, there's nothing they can do. I don't care if the Hollywood trades come out and slam this guy tomorrow. There is nothing they can do to get rid of Barry Weiss outside of some sort of criminality because she's being paid $150 million. How so? Because Skydance came in and bought her organization for $150 million. That is an investment like you've never seen before. She is going nowhere. The news is stuck with her.
Yes.
Wonderful. What's the plan? What are they going to do, Lauren, if they can't dislodge her?
Well,
what's the strategy there if you can't get rid of somebody?
They're going to complain about it an awful lot. What I'm interested to see what happens is what happens with the audience. Are they going to shed the part of their audience that has been a fan of what the media has been doing for the last couple of decades, and are they going to migrate to, say, MS Now, and they're going to get a viewership bump? Or will the audience be interested in being challenged? If so, does CBS gain a broader viewership? So this really could go either way. It could be a return to a more mainstream, just the facts kind of reporting, which I would prefer to see, or it could lead to further balkanization and more people fleeing to their echo chamber of choice in the new media. I don't know if this helps restore the legacy media or if it just broadens more interest in what we would call the new media. I don't know how that's going to shake out. It will be interesting to see how their audience responds over time.
You know, that is a concern of mine, is that the new media is so fractured. You can basically go find somebody who will say anything that you want them to say to you. And that might actually get worse with AI. That could actually get significantly worse over the next 5 years of people saying, you know what, here's the reality that I want to believe exists, feed that to me.
Well, I would argue that that's a lot of what's happened with Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens, in the sense that they have gone to where they feel that there's an audience that isn't being served at all, and they'll chase whatever narrative that is.
Yeah, Tucker is out there saying that Maduro was captured over gay marriage. Like, there's no sane person who believes that. So do I think he believes that? Probably not. I probably don't think that he believes that. So say whatever. That's the plan. Sometimes you got to stay. What do you get? Stay relevant by saying crazy things. Maybe that's the plan. But the thing is, and this is my hope, and maybe this will be true. If we're lucky, this will be true. My hope is that the people who are most accurate over time, that they will rise to the top, because audiences will say, you know what? I want to understand reality. The closer I can approximate what's really happening, the better I can navigate this world. And I'm going to look for track records in the new media. If that happens, I think the best channels are going to rise. If that's not the human nature, and if instead the majority of people just want to be fed exactly what it is they already previously preconceived going into the discussion, then I think we're in for a real mess coming up. Panel, final thoughts on all this.
What's the WDW Pro track record again? Because I think that's pretty good.
It ain't bad, Ron. It ain't bad.
I think if we're going to purport or present ourselves as the leveling the playing field and calling out the hypocrisy that has been spread amongst all news services for the better part of 2 decades now, I think you follow the playbook that Tony DeCapelle was speaking to under Barry Weiss's direction. I think you take the broad statements that have been said by those in the production side of media, the Aaron Sorkins and similar, who want to pretend that they understand what producing a real news story would be. And I would love to have a conversation with Sorkin. He writes the best dialogue in the world. But that's the problem. He writes the best dialogue in the world. In reality, you have to cover what's in front of you, and you have to cover it with as many facts as you have. You cannot invent things. You can't create a narrative around what you would prefer a story to be. And whether or not you do a show that was on HBO for 1 season called Newsroom, or a sports show that was called Sports Night, or any of the other things that Aaron did, including a West Wing show that was ridiculous, I'll say this. You absolutely have to always tell the truth, or the audience will call bologna sausage on whatever it is you say. Tony and Barry Weiss and everybody involved in that team gave nobody any reason to call bologna sausage there. They had to resort to a personal attack on Tony in the course of post headline, follow-up line, whatever you guys call it, sub headline, whatnot, in order to just go after him, going after his staff. Well, I'm sorry, at some point somebody has to say, hey, you screwed up, please try not to do that in the next show. Maybe perhaps in public wasn't the best thing, but now you sound like you're scolding somebody for no reason. Do you know what Americans, consumers in America are tired of? They're tired of a scold. They're tired of being lectured to. They're tired to the constant hectoring. by the people who think they're vastly superior to them. They're tired of elitism. They're tired of not being represented in any conversation, most specifically on television. And they're tired of, being told a narrative and not the truth. They really want to move forward into that, and they want to move forward into an understanding that everybody's now on the same page. A breath of fresh air, that's all we're hoping for. And I was hoping last night would be that, and I have no reason to believe that we didn't start fresh last evening.
And yet again, folks, we have come to the end. But what a video it has been, and we hope you agree. Folks, if you had a good time with us, consider clicking that like button, share, subscribe, click it, stick it to the algorithms. It is the notification bell, and drop a comment right on down below. We care about your thoughts. Folks, we also want to invite you to partake in thatparkplace.com. Of course, www. You get the idea. Thatparkplace.com. It is the website telling the truth, and it is a rising star across the web for pop culture news coverage and analysis. Go over there and bookmark it today. Folks, we're bookmarking you as a great guest that we appreciate. Until the next time we have the honor of spending time with you, keep learning, keep growing, and as always, folks, you better believe it, keep having fun.